Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. Tonight's guest is an old friend of mine and a great bodybuilder from back in the 90s. You might remember her, Laura Bass. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Very good. Great talking to you again.
I know. It's been too long.
I know.
Well, I text you a lot, so.
But we haven't really talked since probably the 90s.
No. But I do text you a lot. You're my go-to guy when it comes to snakes and everything.
Yeah. Well, you're a big animal person. I didn't know you were so into animals. You're into animal rescue, though, right?
I am. Yes, I'm an equestrian trainer, and I'm into animal rescues of large animals, mostly horses, but I have actually a camel, and that's going to feed into our story from Dubai.
That's right. Isn't that you went full circle? You went right back to your roots.
I did go back to my roots. That's my first passion.
How'd you get a camel? Where'd you get one from?
You know what? This is a crazy story. Well, you know how people, they try to like raise tigers in their New York apartments and stuff like that?
Right.
Well, somebody in Ohio got a camel. Don't ask me where he got this camel from. Apparently there's big money on camel heads. Yeah. And they tried to raise a camel in too small of an enclosure in Ohio. And we heard about it, and we rescued it. We went all the way out to Ohio and got this camel, 1-year-old camel. We've had him now. He's about 2.5. But unfortunately, we got him a little too late. His 2 front feet were deformed from malnutrition and from being raised in too small of an enclosure. So he just went on. His name's Humphrey, by the way.
Yeah,
Humphrey.
I know. I watch him all the time on your Facebook. What now? Why?
Yeah, he's quite the celebrity.
Yeah, no, he's great. Because who the hell has a camel nowadays? You're the only one that I know. What could they possibly have done wrong? Where were they keeping him? Inside their house?
They kept him in I don't know. You know, they kept him in a small enclosure in the backyard, but camels need a lot of room.
Oh, they do.
And his front feet, not his back feet, but his front feet literally grew straight up. His front toes grew straight up as opposed to lying flat.
Is there any way to fix that?
Well, here's the thing. We went to 4 different vets, and 2 of the vets said, you're going to have to put him down.
Oh, really?
Which was heartbreaking. Yeah. Then we went to a 3rd vet, and he said, maybe we can do something. We found a vet from Egypt.
There you go. That's right. Went right to the source.
We found a vet from Egypt, and he said, yes, I think there's something I can do. So about 2 weeks ago, he went in for a procedure. It was a risky procedure. We weren't sure if he was going to make it, to be honest with you. And he was in critical care. He was in critical care for about a week. But they're tough. They're tough animals. And my boy pulled through. He's doing great. He's doing good on solid, dry ground. And you want to know what, Dave? They are brilliant animals. I never knew. They have the emotions of an 8-year-old. They're like elephants that way, and they don't forget a thing. So I've really bonded with a cat. You know what I have? I actually pulled out some things for us. I pulled out, and I'm going to show you, still have the original newspaper from when we went to Dubai.
Really?
But I also, who would have thought, can you see it? This is a postcard. This is a postcard from when we went to Dubai. And who would have thought, after all these years,
you don't have any pictures do you have any pictures of us from there? I have like only a couple.
Yes, I do. I have it right next to me. I pulled this out just for you.
Wow.
Hold on a minute.
I'll tell you guys the story in a minute of Laura and I when we went to Dubai in '96 with Milos. But
I'm going to hold it up because, hold on 1 second. Let me see. I might shake, but
you know, it's funny. You took the camel. Let's see this picture first. Oh, wow.
Can you see
I never saw that picture.
This was in a newspaper.
Wow.
And you're like featured right here. You're like the biggest
I wasn't even a pro then, and they featured me. That's great.
Yeah. You're like the biggest. You're featured the biggest one here. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm sure Edgar Fletcher was pissed off about that. That's for sure.
Let me tell you, you rocked Dubai when we were out there.
they like big freaks then. I was like 290 pounds, and I was like ripped to shreds. Let me just step back for a minute.
You're like the king out there.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could
You
segue
are.
into that. I just thought it was amusing, that you bring a camel to the vet out here, and I'm thinking, the vets in America don't treat camels. There are no camels here. So, of course they didn't know what to do. So you found this Egyptian vet who did this surgery.
Well, we found the vet he was a vet from Egypt, and he said, yeah, I think there's something we can do for him. And, fortunately for us, camels grow for like 6 years, okay?
Oh, wow.
And because his feet were still growing, they were able to manipulate the feet down. But I'm going to go on and on if you let me.
Go.
Camels have blood unlike any mammal on Earth. I'm going to unplug this because I have full battery. Camels have blood unlike any mammal on Earth. They have oval blood cells. Okay,
Really?
they're not round.
Wow.
Yes, because if they get, if they're out in the desert and they don't drink for long periods of time, they think it's because the blood cells can travel through, and their hump will actually come down. Their eye sockets will go in, and they can drink like 20 gallons of water within like an hour, and their hump will go up. But if he were to need blood,
right,
when he was critical, he would have been dead.
Oh, because there's no transfusions because there's no camels around.
Where would you get the blood from?
Right.
So, I mean, for a whole week, and when I tell you, I call it the click. It's the click when you're bonded with an animal, and because they are so extremely smart, I'm in his head and he's in mine,
That's awesome.
But the thing with the camel is, then they're funny this way. If you hurt a camel on purpose, they will remember it, and they will eventually, like there is a woman up there, they will eventually try to kill you.
Really?
That's how.
Wow.
Yeah, they're kind of wicked that way. There's a woman up there, and she trains horses, but she trains them kind of with a heavy hand. So you can't train. They're totally different species. Can't train a camel. If you think you're going to train a camel like a horse, forget it. And she tried to train, horses are really forgiving. They'll forgive you for anything.
Right.
She went in there and she tried to train Humphrey, and she reprimanded him bad, and she hit him.
Right. Doesn't like her, huh?
Well, Humphrey grew up.
Uh-oh.
And she went in there. She can't go in there anymore.
No? Did he attack her?
No. Oh yeah, he went for her. He attacked her,
Really?
and it's not good when he's about 700 pounds now, pushing.
What do you feed
man.
a camel, Laura?
They have a special grain, a special grain for camels. It's different than horses.
Gotcha.
And then they get hay exactly like a horse.
Yeah. Okay.
But they have a very bland, they'll eat cactus, they'll eat anything very, very bland.
Well, maybe when the camel crew comes over, Beta Badai and his boys, they could go visit your camel ranch there and take some pictures because we call them the camel crew.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
There's your ties back to bodybuilding. All right, let's take a step back. 1992. I remember looking at the result. I think it was 92. The results of the NPC Nationals, and I saw Laura Bass win the heavyweight class.
Right.
No one expected it. No one knew who you were. You were at a diamond gym.
No, I was nobody. I turned pro in 6 months, Dave. I turned pro in 6 months. I came out of nowhere.
No one did that ever in the history back then because it was so difficult to turn pro. I'm sure all the girls in the heavyweight class probably hated your guts because they didn't know who you were, right?
You know who was the big favorite one to win that year, don't you? Denise Rakowski.
Denise Rakowski, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved?
I'll never forget. I was dating this guy, Chris, and his friend Pierre, and he would always say, Denise, and I was pushing it hard and I was getting tired. He was like, Denise is out in California doing the same thing, I was like, she was really my biggest fear going into it.
Now you really, like I said, came out of nowhere. How did you even get introduced to bodybuilding? Because you were only training, like you said, 6 months before you did nationals. It was pretty.
No, I didn't train. I didn't train for 6 months.
Oh.
I competed in the NPC for 6 months.
Oh, okay, I got you. So how long you had been training before that?
I was training since I was 16. My brother introduced me to weights.
Now you were let's put it online. You were one of the best looking women back in the sport back then. That's not Denise.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
a lot of people, that was something that was important back then. There were a lot of good-looking women in women's bodybuilding. It was very marketable. People loved to watch the sport. And what people don't realize is back then, there was no bikini, there was no figure, there was no fitness. It was just women's bodybuilding. So,
right.
I mean, that's what people really, targeted their look for. And you had that look. Do you think, the way you looked also helped, with the marketability of the sport?
Well, you know what, Dave? That was always a primary factor for me. I always wanted to keep my femininity. I'd never, that was a fine line, but even back then, there was a fine line there you were walking. And I wasn't the biggest. I was by no means the biggest back then. I mean, I'm 5'7". That's kind of tall. It's not real tall, but I was a heavyweight, no doubt. I mean, I was like 142, 145, and then when I was a pro, I was pushing 160 almost. So I mean, the cutoff, I forget what the cutoff was, but there was no way I was ever going to be below a heavyweight.
Yeah.
But I was by no means ever. I don't even think when I won the nationals, I was the biggest. It was always
never were.
about.
But you had
What, huh?
You had a really good look, and you trained at Diamond Gym, right?
I trained at Gold's Gym and Diamond Gym.
Give us a little idea of what Diamond Gym was like back in the day, because people have no idea.
That is the epitome of the hardcore gym. That was all hardcore. I mean, John Kemper was an amazing man. I bless his soul, rest his soul. I loved him. He took me under his wing as well. And it was just like the mecca of hardcore bodybuilders. It really was on the East Coast. It really was.
There was so many guys that turned pro out of that gym in that time period. It was like unbelievable. Like everyone in the gym was a pro bodybuilder.
It wasn't a big gym. It was not a big gym at all. It was a hole in the ground. I mean, it was just a sweatshop.
Yeah. Now, when you showed up at that nationals, did you feel confident, like, hey, I could win this, or were you like not even in the realm of thinking about that?
Yes, I always felt confident. I always felt confident, And I've got to tell you something. My mother didn't like that I competed. She didn't like that I competed. But my father, he always said one thing to me. He said, Laura, the odds were stacked against me. Really stacked against you back then. It was hard, like you said, becoming a pro.
Sure.
But my father said one thing to me. He was an artist, okay? My father was the head designer for the Macy's Parade. And my father was one of 7. He was from Germany, first generation here. And he wanted to be an artist, and his father always said to him, what are you doing becoming an artist? Artists starve. So when I wanted to be, professional bodybuilder, like, what are the odds, right?
Sure.
My father said, Laura, if you love something, don't let anybody stop you. But you have to have 2 things. You have to love it, and you have to be good at it. And if you love it and you're good at it, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. And so I loved it, and I did a couple shows, and I was good at it. I won, the MPC locals. I did the Suburban, the Jersey, the Junior Nationals, and I won them, and so I felt pretty confident. I mean, I did everything I needed to do. I was really on point, and well, you know what it was too. This was the thing. It was the 10th anniversary of the Nationals. It was huge. So it was a big show. But was I like, I'm going to win this thing hands down? No, of course not. There was some wicked fierce competition out there.
Yeah.
But I did the best I could, and I walked in there like, this is the best I've looked. So
were the other girls mad at you that you won because you were kind of like an unknown?
No. Etta Timmerman, do you remember her? Etta Timmerman? She came in second. And we still keep in touch to this day, a lot on Facebook. But from what I hear, there was mixed things from the girls because,
Well, they weren't. They
so
didn't think you were hardcore enough. They thought you were like a pretty girl. Like you weren't like as muscular, as big as these other girls.
So I heard. Yeah. So I heard. I really don't let a lot of outer opinions affect me, but I did hear a lot of good feedback and a lot of meow.
Yeah. Now,
so it is what it is, but I don't let that bother me.
Right.
I never did. So.
Now, you were forced at some point once you became a pro. You competed. Obviously, you were not the biggest girl out there. You didn't want to take the drugs like these other girls did. So you wound up switching to fitness because there was no figure back then. When you look,
yeah, and I actually made top 7th in the Giantana, which I was thrilled about because you want to know why? I wasn't a gymnast. I mean, all these girls were phenomenal gymnasts. I was like an elephant on stage with my gymnastics. I had a couple things I could do, but I literally threw myself around like a freaking elephant. But I won I did really good in the endurance round, and and
they used to have just for people who don't know, Laura. For people who don't know, they used to have a physique round where you would do your quarter turns. They have a routine round, which they still have, but then they had this crazy endurance round where they would do something like you get on like a rowing machine.
Yeah, it was Stairmaster.
And you were great at that. I know that.
Oh but I practiced so hard for that Stairmaster, and I thought my heart was going to come out of my chest after I was finished. But that was where I had to do well, And Bev Francis' husband, his name is Steve.
Steve Weinberger.
Steve. He was yelling in my ear, "You need this. You need this." and that's what he was yelling. I'll never forget that. He was literally yelling in my ear, "You need this round." And well, I just cranked that out, but when it was done, I was just sucking so much wind. But
I like that round.
I came out. What, hon?
I used to like that round. I kind of was mad when they took it out.
They did take that out. Huh?
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. It was too time consuming. That's what it was.
I mean, I had a really good routine. It just didn't have a lot of, gymnastics. I liked my routine. I thought it was a great routine. It was just.
When you see nowadays they started that new women's physique division, that would have been right up your alley. That you would have been the champ in that thing. Do you say, man, I wish they would have had that back in the 90s?
Yes. Well, you know what? I think the physiques today are what the bodybuilders were in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those physiques, what they look like now, they're more in line with what the bodybuilders of my era were.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty buff, I mean, they look great. They're not real. They got a pretty good amount of muscle on them.
Yeah, they do. Let's talk about the trip in 1996 to Dubai. So they decided this is before Dubai was what it is today, and they decided they wanted to have a big fitness expo there. They wanted to bring some American bodybuilders in. I was contacted. Obviously, I know it was Milo Sharsev, me. You went out there.
I was the only girl.
You were the only girl with the guy Dennis you were dating at the time, and then Edgar Fletcher was also brought in. He was a top amateur at the time, and we all got flown in there, and no one really knew what to expect or anything like that. And we would have guessed. The idea was we were going to be there for a couple days for the expo, and then we were going to guest pose. And we all got in there, and it was a long flight. I remember it was a crazy connecting flight.
14 hours at least. I think it might have been.
Yeah,
I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. There was a huge time difference. It was, like I said, Dubai was not the tourist city it is today. It was all desert. It was just scaffolds of all these buildings that they were attempting to build at the time. And there was one hotel where they kind of put us up in. And Laura, Laura couldn't even go to the gym because there was no women allowed.
I did go to the gym, Dave. I had to get special permission because there was no woman that ever walked into that gym. I had to get special permission. And I'll never, ever forget you guys because you want to know what? You guys were really, well, let me just first say, you guys were really amazing to me because you would come to my hotel room, you'd knock on the door, and you would come get me before we went anywhere. But one time, I forget, I think we were going to the gym. And you remember the cabs? They were all like Mercedes, Porsche, BMW.
Yeah.
Right. So you, Edgar, and Milos get into a Mercedes, and then there was no room for me. And this purple Porsche pulls up, and they're like, "Get in." And so I'm like, "Oh, 4-letter word."
Yeah.
And I go to you guys. I go, "Don't lose me." And Milos goes, I'll just never forget Milos's last words. He goes, "It's a Porsche." I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get lost. I'm going to get lost in Dubai.
Yeah. Milos was great on that trip because Milos, all he did was complain the whole time. If we didn't have like 400 chicken breasts available for us or eggs for breakfast. So Milos was constantly complaining the whole time. Edgar Fletcher, I think, was at the Thailand whorehouses that they had there. We didn't see him the whole time. He didn't want to associate with us. And you were hanging out with Milos and I pretty much the whole time. And we, like I said, I think you just got breast implants, didn't you, or something like that?
I just got what?
Breast implants. Didn't you just get breast implant surgery at that time?
Come on, Dave.
People want to know the story,
I
man. You were just recovering from surgery. I couldn't even believe it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
For the second time, though, because you want to know why the first time they couldn't get him in all the way.
Oh,
the guy, I came out of surgery and they're like under my armpits. I'm like, seriously? And the doctor said, well, when he said, well, when I put them in, he's used to, it's like, he's normally like slicing butter, but when he went to put them into me, it was like slicing steak.
Oh, yeah.
So he couldn't get him in all the way, and so I had to get him done a second time. Oh. So yeah, I was recovering.
Didn't you have Bruce Nadler do your implants?
Who?
Did Bruce Nadler do those for you?
No.
Oh. Because I know you did use them, right? Because Bruce Nadler was a bodybuilder, and he did a lot of plastic surgery.
But Joe Weider paid for them.
He did? Wow. That's gossip right there. You might be the only girl that Joe Weider ever did anything for.
You think?
Joe Joe didn't really get involved with the women's side of the sport. That's awesome. I didn't even know that. Yeah. Good gossip.
Wanted to speak to, I forget the name of the doctor, but he wanted to speak to the doctor and everything.
Wow, you were used on a lot of covers of a lot of magazines back in the day because you were a very good looking girl and they liked your look and it was good marketability for the sport. So I can understand why Joe wanted to invest in you.
I wasn't blonde either, right?
Right. Yeah, you're right. A lot of the girls were blonde. You weren't. You had that dark hair, blue-eyed look. It was marketable. People wanted to get behind you. Today, you probably would have made a fortune because with all the social media stuff going on, I think back, if I would have had, imagine if you would have had a cell phone back then.
Yeah.
If you would have done selfies, back then, and you would have had 1 million followers probably,
I don't know. You know what? I like the time that it was what it was, and I wouldn't have changed the era that we had.
So let's go back to Dubai. A lot of funny stuff happened. You probably could tell more stories. You probably remember more than I do. But what I do remember is the guy that you were dating at the time, Dennis, got into an argument with one of the Lebanese bodybuilders that were there. And he punched him in the mouth.
When it was over.
Right? Tell us what happened. Tell me the story, because you saw it.
So they were arguing about something, and it had to do with me, and I don't remember what it was. But the next thing you know, I'm watching them, and I don't know if you remember this, but the next thing you see, his name was Dennis.
Yeah.
Dennis headbutted the guy. And this guy, there was a caste system out there, right? Remember that? There was a real caste system.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy was like the biggest of the caste system. Like, he wouldn't shake my hand or anything, this guy. I mean, he was like really religious or whatever, I mean, he followed all the rules.
Yeah.
And he just, out of nowhere, Dennis just like headbutted him.
Yeah.
And then the military came in, these military guys. And and everything went, I just like sunk in my seat. I don't know. I thought he was going to jail. Like, I thought that was it. Like, we're not in America.
Well, you know what the problem was? We were going to guest pose about a half hour after that. And now all of a sudden, you can't assault anyone in Dubai. I mean, that's like a serious offense. And so you can't even do anything to anyone there. So they got him in a room and they wanted to take Dennis's passport away and they wanted to keep you guys. Like, they weren't going to let you go back to the States the next day or something like that.
Well, it wasn't us, it was him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with Dennis, they wouldn't let him. No, I remember Dennis they wanted to put him in jail. They wanted to press charges against him. And
And then what happens?
Yeah, well,
You get up.
yeah, but then, well, because I'm the ultimate, I'm the Daniel Webster, I'm the great negotiator. But this is the
I'll
problem.
never forget. All I saw, Dave, were your legs. Like,
Yeah, I was in shorts. No, because we were about to guest pose. There was 5,000 Arab people sitting with the whole headdress and everything in their seats, waiting for Milos, me, you, Edgar, all the guest pose. Everything was put on halt. We're in this back room with the police, with the dentist and the guy he punched, and I'm trying to negotiate the release of Dennis, basically. And this guy wanted to press charges. They weren't going to let you guys go back home. And I'm like,
yeah, but
I
do you
can't
remember
believe...
the crowd when you got up? What the noise they made?
Oh.
I mean, they were like, whoa! I mean, the crowd just
It was
like,
deafening.
crowd went wild when you got up.
Yeah, so we negotiated that Dennis would apologize to this guy in front of the 5,000 people that were waiting. He would get up and say he was sorry and that he was asking for his apology. And we had to sit down and the Dennis was a little arrogant at the time. I had to tell him, Dennis, you got to sell this thing. If they don't believe you, you're not going home. I said, you're going to jail. I said, so we got Dennis to get up there, and Dennis did it. He apologized, I guess, to the best of his ability, and they accepted the apology. And then, if you remember, this was like 2 hours later. Not one person left the arena. We all got up and did our guest posing things up there. You remember that?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I remember that.
Very well received.
I didn't think he was coming back. I thought he was going to jail. I mean, he literally headbutted that guy. I did not think he was going to get off for that. And it was bad. It was a bad headbutt.
Now you I don't know how they treated you, but the gym owners there were kissing my ass. They were bringing me to all the different gyms there that they owned, and they were basically giving me bags of anabolic steroids. Here, take these. I said, guys, how much could I take in 3? I'm only here for 3 days. I said, what if I can't bring it back with me? I said, I'd love to. Here, take this bag of stuff. Don't worry about it. They took me out to eat at this place. I said, I was dieting at the time. I'm like, I need fish. They brought me a fish this big out. They're like, is this one good?
Oh, I remember them. I remember
they
eating
made the
out.
whole fish for me. They brought the whole fish out for me. They cooked. I mean, they really treated us so nice. Remember they took us to the Nike outlet there and they got us shoes?
Yes. Yep.
We all got brand new Nike sneakers for free. That's when I found out that my shoe size went from a size 13.5 to a 15.5.
Well, you want to know what too? They treated me like gold. I mean, the women there, it's like a caste system, like I said, and but they treated me amazing. Yeah. Oh, and then listen to this. I needed to get a bikini. Okay, I don't know why. I mean, I had bikinis with me. Don't ask me why I had to go to the mall. Yeah. But there were 2 people that worked for ProLab. I was there with ProLab, right. And there were 2 people out there from Dubai, Hassan and AB. I forget which one I went with to the mall. Let's just say Hassan just for namesake. So I go with Hassan, and I'm in this men's extra large ProLab shirt that literally almost went down to my knees. And then these like black stretchy shorts, right? And they were practically covered. I think they were covered by the shirt. I mean, it was like so frumpy. Yeah. And we're walking through the mall, and I'm getting all these looks, and Hassan starts to like laugh, and I'm like, Hassan, why is everybody looking at me? And he's like, you really want to know? And I'm like, yeah, why is everybody staring at me? And he said, they think you're a prostitute. And I'm like, are you serious? Dressed like this? I mean, if I was dressed like this in the States, I would get no work at all. I mean, look at me. I literally in like I mean, it was a huge, humongous, oversized ProLab shirt. Yeah, but your face was showing. That was the problem. Well, no women showed their face in public there. Well, yeah, but some of them were in black, the all black, and then some of them had just the what is that, hijab or whatever. Yeah. But it was a definite caste system, and I near died when he said they think you're a prostitute. And I don't know if you remember also on the airplane ride there, we take off, and I don't remember if you were sitting near me. Everyone starts lighting up cigarettes around me. I'm like, what the freak's going on? What's going on? There was a smoking section. They used to let you smoke. The smoking had been banned in the U.S. for 15 years, but not overseas. And it was like I was in hell
Because
I know. I can't stand this. I cannot stand the smell of cigarettes. I mean, like literally, I can smell it, if it's been on somebody. I can smell it in the car.
Yep.
I can't stand it.
Every
Yep.
person on that flight lit up a cigarette in that section, so I couldn't stay
gross.
there. I couldn't stay there. So I wound up sitting in the flight attendant seat. The flight attendant seat doesn't recline. It's just that little flap that kind of goes down, and you just sit in it.
Yeah.
I sat in that for like 14 hours. I wanted to kill myself. It was, and I was 300 pounds, so it was, I wasn't comfortable to begin with, so it was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Oh,
But
yeah. And then I remember going through customs when we got there. I mean, it was like sheep. I mean, I lost everybody. I thought I was going to lose everybody. It was like we literally had to, grab onto each other.
Yeah.
Because it was like herding cattle, and you had to go through this one single door. It was so brutal. Oh, and then I'll never forget Hassan and AV. The one thing about everybody out there is they all know how to make bombs. Every one of them.
I didn't know that.
Like, did you know I kept in touch with Hassan and AB after I came back? He's like, anybody bother you, Laura? I'll make you a bomb.
I didn't know that.
Anybody.
I didn't know that. I'm glad I don't know that, but that was interesting. So they
You
all
know how to make
they
bombs.
learned that in
Anybody
school.
bother you? I'll make you a bomb.
They must learn that in school. It must be part of elementary school there.
Yeah, while our kids are learning, the alphabet, they're learning how to make bombs.
Laura, getting back to bodybuilding for a second, which Miss Olympia in your history growing up, which Miss Olympia did you look up to the most? Like that's what I think Miss Olympia should look like. Which one?
Corey Everson.
You liked Corey's physique, yeah.
I like Corey Everson, and I like Linda Murray.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that should have been the extent of women's bodybuilding in terms of size?
Absolutely, no more extreme than Linda. Linda was when she first won the Miss Olympia.
Right.
I mean, you don't get much of a better shape than Linda, and Corey set the stand. I mean, she was just perfect.
Yeah. Now, in women's bodybuilding over the years.
Don't ask me to compare Linda with Corey because
no, I won't.
But
the women's bodybuilding over the years, you guys have a lot of weird fans. Some people call them schmoes, the guys that are just into the women's bodybuilders. Did you have a lot of those like schmoey guys like contacting you, throughout your career?
Yeah, very strange people. Really, really, really odd. Very odd requests.
What was the weirdest thing someone requested of you?
Can you send me a picture of you wearing cowboy boots? Like what? What?
Weird.
I mean, that's just one of them. Just so weird.
Yeah. And you were back in the days before really there was emails. Nowadays, think about how many more crazy emails people get.
I still get weird stuff.
Oh, you do?
I mean, and I'm
do?
like 100 years old.
You still got people after you. That's great.
I mean, I'm geriatric. Leave me alone.
What is your involvement? Do you still like bodybuilding? You still follow the sport, or is it something that you kind of far removed from?
I still work out, but I don't really. You know what? I still work out, but to be honest with you, I really don't follow it too much anymore. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you who was really the top, competitors too much. I do know Kevin Leverone went back into it. Yeah,
he made his comeback. But it just proves that, even Kevin Leverone can't merely make the real comeback. It's, our bodies change as we get older, It's just, I know you have, do you have any injuries from back in the day that you still, nursing?
You want to know what? All my injuries came from me, from other things. Yeah. I think bodybuilding actually helped. I got a knee replacement. I had like 8 surgeries on my knee.
Wow.
But my knee surgery started when I was in 3rd grade. I had like my first surgery on my knee in 3rd grade. And I think that bodybuilding actually strengthened the muscles around my knee and was part of the reason that I was able to put off surgery for so long.
Well, you and I have very similar medical histories because you got the bad knee. I got the knee. I tore the quad when I slipped in India. I have the shoulder replacement, so I match you there. And we both have, you have a defibrillator too, right?
have a pacemaker defibrillator, but that's from long QT syndrome. That
Right.
has nothing to do with anything, that I took or anything. That's long QT syndrome is genetic,
Yeah.
and it's hereditary.
Yeah, I have a
So,
genetic arrhythmia too. Yeah, yeah, it's weird.
yeah,
But
yeah,
see what happens when you get older, you fall apart, right? A little bit.
yeah. But I'm getting rebuilt. Everything's being rebuilt.
And me too. Me too.
You know?
I like it. I like it. Bigger and better. Like the $6 million man. Well,
Yeah, you got to look at it that way.
now you train horses, right?
Yeah, yep. I train horses. I refuse to let myself crumble. I just fell off a huge draft horse the other day. I
Oof.
got bucked off, and I was like, heck, I'm just keeping going. I just keep going.
When you fall at the age you are now, does it hurt a lot more?
If I don't get up without sound effects, Dave, there's something wrong.
Oh no. Oh no.
But it's all right. You know what? It's my passion. It's just my passion. I love what I do now. I'm not going to stop. I'm still I'm in my element. I still work out, and I think that bodybuilding and lifting weights, it keeps you young. It really does.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it. It really does. Just in a small capacity.
Yeah. How old's your son now?
He's 16.
That's crazy. I can't believe it.
I know. He's 16 years old. He was just 3 yesterday.
Yeah, my son is 2, but he'll be 16 in the blink of an eye too. Do you go to the gym with him? Does he work out?
He works out. He works out at home, but I'm going to try to get him to the gym. Yeah, and he's been working out now for, oh my gosh, probably a year. He looks really good.
Does he have the Laura Bass genetics?
He absolutely does. He's got better genetics than me.
That's great. That's
And
awesome.
you know what we do too? We spar because I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, and my son is too. So I don't hesitate to put him in headlocks, and we spar still.
Really? So you're dangerous too. I didn't know that.
Oh, watch out.
Have you ever had to use your Taekwondo on anyone?
You want to know what?
What?
Yes, and this is a really scary story. I was in Elizabeth, okay, and I had here's a story. Elizabeth is it's a real bad neighborhood, as Trump would say. It's an S-hole, okay, town, and I love Trump, right?
Yeah,
okay,
you're a big
we're not
Trump
gonna go
supporter. I know
political.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so I'm in Elizabeth, and it's really bad neighborhood. I mean, really, really bad. And here's a story. I had just lost my purse the week before. I had left it in Eckerd drugstore, and a really nice woman returned it. So here I am in Elizabeth, and I'm walking to my car, and I had one of those backpack purses on. So this person, I didn't know whether it was a male or a female. It just had dark blue sweatpants on, a dark blue hoodie covering its head. And I heard him or her say something like, "Give me what you got," and some kind of slang. Anyway, I didn't know what they said, but they certainly weren't saying "let's go for tea" or anything.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, they put their hand on my purse, on my backpack purse. Now, I had just got it back literally less than a week ago.
Yeah.
So I didn't get scared. I just got really pissed off. And my car was right there. I was at my car.
Yeah.
So, and it happened so fast, Dave. It's not like the movies where you're like fighting for like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
in slow motion. And I had heels on, okay?
Oh,
so
sure.
how the heel goes like this,
Sure.
okay? So I just did a side kick, and my heel wrapped around her knee, but the point of impact was too close. It should have been farther. So when
Yeah.
I hit her knee, my leg was still bent, and I pushed it through.
Oh.
Well, right, because I was holding onto the car, so it allowed me to stay upwards. If I
Right.
wasn't holding onto the car, I would have fell over.
Yeah.
But because I had my hand on my car, it allowed me to kick straight back. But the thing that got me the most was she fell, and her head made this popping noise.
Oh boy.
It was like, picture a big ostrich egg, and it was like pop on the street.
Oh wow.
And now I was going through a really hairy divorce at the time. So I was going through oh, here's my cat.
Oh,
so
nice.
I was going through, Jersey. She's really naughty. She's a kitten. So I was, Jersey, she's jealous. So I was going through this really hairy divorce. And, oh, come on. Jersey, stop it. And so anyway, I was going through this really hairy divorce, and I didn't know my way through Elizabeth. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be the one that's going to get in trouble. And I'm already going to court. So I got in the car, but before I got in the car, I couldn't figure out how she was laying because her legs were all wacky. Her leg was hyperextended the other way because I kicked the knee back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But when her head popped, she made that loud scream, like when somebody screams, but then it goes to an octave higher, like a shark attack scream.
Yeah.
Like that real high pitch. And that's what I'll never forget. So I'm shaking like a leaf. I mean, I'm like literally shaking. And I'm driving all around Elizabeth. And then I finally saw, the courthouse, which I've been to a million times.
Yeah.
And that's how I found my way home. So yeah, I did have to use it.
That's great. It's funny. Here you are, you're being attacked, and then you defend yourself, and now you're worried that you hurt the girl. So it's actually insane when you think about it.
Oops. I'm like, ooh. But I don't know. But the thing was, it was right. It was in a street. I don't know. She's laying in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
I don't know if nobody. I mean, I guess nobody called me. I didn't get in trouble. I just left the scene.
Moral of the story is.
Next thing I know, she could have got run over. She was in the middle of a street, and she was in all dark blue. I don't know what happened to her.
The moral of the story is don't try to rob anyone because you never know who you're messing with, right, Laura?
You never know what you're gonna. I mean, I probably look like this perfect target. Here I am, like with my little knapsack purse,
Right.
walking with my little heels and my little purse
Right.
in this terrible town. But it happened like a split second. It was like boom, done.
Well, you have good reactions. Yeah, you got good reactions.
Well, I was so mad. I was like, oh no, not again, no.
Laura.
And then And it wasn't like I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm so badass. I was literally shaking for like days. I was like, oh my God, and that pop, I'll never forget that pop.
Well, look, we could probably reminisce for another hour or so, but I want to just, maybe we'll get you back on because I think you got some good opinions. I'd like to hear more about what you have to say. I love the stories. I love the camel. I'm following him like religiously. You should start a little YouTube channel for your camel, Humphrey.
Humphrey? Yeah, Humphrey.
And best of luck with his recovery from the surgery.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks for coming on the show and sharing your stories with us.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on your daughter.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm a late starter, but I finish real strong. So hopefully we'll have the kids will be good.
Okay. Well, it was good talking to you.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
so
too.
much for having me.
All right, and that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.